Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here. For nerds, by nerds, hanging with some of my esteemed colleagues.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
And before we get into this, check the description below. You're going to find a link to the Nerdarchy newsletter. That's where you can sign up for that to find out all the cool stuff we're working on. And with that, we have a GM 911 from, what is it,
Mick1 Gamer.
Mick1 Gamer. And right now, he's just getting back into D&D with 5th edition, and he's starting with a solo campaign for his young son. I don't know how young. And, you know, he wants suggestions on how to run a campaign for a game without a lot of players in it. And in this case, one player.
How do you do a solo game?
How do you do a solo game? And we've done other videos on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things too you might want to check. One of the things you want to do is you want to build the story around what that player wants to do. Is, you know, especially a young gamer, you know, I would see what their other interests are, and you know, whether it's Pokemon or I don't know, I don't even remember what kids are into these days. But you know, Lord of the Rings, Pokemon, whatever.
Going across the plains to different.
Try and give them that
worlds.
Experience.
You're gonna play, you know, Conan. You're gonna play, you know, a central figure hero, you know, game that's, you know, totally set up for this guy to achieve whatever, you know, ends that this character has in mind.
And he's playing a second level ranger. So, and a ranger's a really good class for
soloing.
Yeah, because they have a little bit of diversity.
So listen, I'm a good fighter. I've got stealth, and I can heal. All right, that's.
Now, one of the things he asks is like, should I give him magic items and use NPCs and do all these things? And I say no. Don't do anything to compensate for the lack of other players. Like this goes for anyone where you're running a low campaign. Build your story. Build the campaign around the characters you have, not the ones that you feel should be there. The problem is people want to play to the mechanics instead of playing to the story.
Right.
Think about novels you read. When I read a novel, very rarely is there, 4 to 7 characters in that book, and it's about generally there's one main character, 2 main characters. Mm-hmm. This is very doable. You know, comic books are about generally one character and a sidekick. Sure, there's team books,
right?
But build to the story, to what you have.
Find out exactly what does your son want? What does the main character want to see? You know, what does the player expect? If you build on exactly those things with some surprises in there, because if you're spoon feeding them everything they want, it's not really all that enjoyable. You know, you want to have challenges. You want to have things that are going to be hiccups in his grand plan. But if you build on all of these things and you make it feasible through ordeals, it's going to be an insanely memorable game. And we'll be like, okay, well, when's the next one start?
Yeah, you can use supported cast. Like, absolutely, you want NPCs, but that doesn't mean they have to always be with the player doing adventures and stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have to load them up with magic items to make him feel like he can overcome challenges. You just need to tell a story that would make sense for a solo character to be involved with. Mm-hmm. In some ways, I think people miss the point. Like, you can actually do more with less characters, because you can tell different kinds of stories. You can tailor right to that character. You know, just because it's a dungeon crawl style game, you're running this particular session, you don't have to run it the same way as you would others. Maybe because it's a solo character, he can stealth by things. He can think his way around problems. You know, he said the character likes to role play. Use that.
He can try all the crazy stuff that the rest of the party usually will shoot down. Like, no, we cannot go and leap out of a tree and ambush anybody.
So I say, if you only have 1 or 2, 3 players, maybe it's a light D&D party. I think it's an opportunity to do things that you wouldn't normally do. You could use, like, in healing, you could use consumables. That's not really a big deal. Or you could introduce NPCs as encounters where they could get support in some ways, but it's not the same as they need to go with them everywhere. You know, you can have interesting encounters. Like, it was just my wife and my son in a game, and they stumbled upon a chamber that was inhabited by a spirit who was able to tell them some things about the dungeon they were in, and it wasn't a combat encounter, and it was a way like for me to do different things if I felt it needed to be done in that session, and keep it interesting and keep the story moving. With the ranger, is he he could be attached to an army, he could be the scout. You could do different things like that. You could do things where, like, during a scouting mission, like, he falls through a hole in the ground and now he's in a dungeon and has to figure out how to get out because he can't go back the way he came.
And he's got to explain where he was.
Well, yeah, then he's got to explain where he was. I just think it's an opportunity to have a different kind of game.
I agree. I mean, I think it's something that would be unique and cool, and something that we've been gaming as a group for a long time, and I can't tell you the last time that we've ever considered. I mean, like I know that there was a time that we were running three people in Shattered Realm, but that was a game long time ago.
Well, yeah, but we never went, oh, how should I run this game?
No,
because the thing is, like, if you're always tailoring your adventures to your players, this is never a question or something you worry about. But if you're trying to basically build a module for your players to run through every game session, that's where you run into the problem. But because maybe the story you're trying to tell doesn't make sense for the players you have at your table. If you make the story for the players at your table, then all those questions you're having they're not going to be relevant. Like, you're going to be able to make exciting action scenes and stories, without worrying about that stuff, because you're going to tie it personally to the players at your table. And if you only have one player to work with, it's so much easier. Talk to your son, figure out what he wants to get out of the game. One of the things which was really kind of cool was this guy, he wants to get back into D&D, and this is like the first thing he did. And one of the things he's been doing is watching gameplays and YouTube channels, and one of those is ours. Thank you. And when his son started watching them with him, that's when he decided he wanted to play. And so so instead of finding a group, he decided he would just get the books and just start running a game for his son. So it's real simple. Like, you only have one player, you still do a session 0, decide what you want to get, you as the DM want to get out of this game,
find out what your son wants to get out of it, and lo and behold, if he has the same love and passion that you do for this game, it's very possible that he's gonna sell his friends on it, and he's gonna find your group for you.
Well, and that's a possibility too. You can run for the kids or whatever. But again, just play the game. Play the game to the character you have. Don't worry about introducing NPCs as party members. Don't worry about gearing this character up to compensate. Figure out the story that this character needs to tell. Think about comic books, movies, TV series, and other forms of media entertainment, and think about the stories that are being told there. And generally you'll find most of the time it's either a very small group or one person.
I don't know, Dave. All this sounds really good, but don't you think you could use a figurine of Wonder's power and 2 swords that are magical? And maybe a split personality.
Oh my God.
Called the Hunter or something. I think that would work better.
Maybe. Or you can just do as Nate had suggested.
Yeah,
that aside,
let's
get a little drizzy jab.
And he's got to be drow as well.
Yeah,
right?
get a drizzy jab in there every once in a while. But no, I like what Dave is saying about it. I'm pro NPC in the sense of I entertain, I think, the players more through the NPCs and the combats and other things, and not like haha we're going to do cartwheels and stuff. So I'm not going to reenact that stuff, but like interesting characters, interesting dialogue that comes along, and that's gonna impact them, or they're gonna get into. So you're gonna figure that out from their session 0, and just kind of like talking with them, and hey, they're your son in this case, so you kind of know what they're about. So
So there's some ideas for you, some things to do. The character wants to be a ranger. Does he want some kind of heroic epic quest? Does he want something that's far more stealthy, urban? There's lots of different ways that you can go. If he's looking for something heroic, putting in some kind of bard to kind of like some non-combat bard, who's looking to
A minstrel.
A minstrel to chronicle it. You have someone who's there to see what's going on, who's not going to take away any of his heroics, but has access to healing magic, as a possible NPC to use here and there. If stealth is an option, bards can do that. If you wind up going with halfling or gnome, then that makes it even more comical. But they'll have the higher dex to allow for some of that kind of stuff. So just some ideas.
One more thing, I didn't really get into this part. Okay, so when you're asking and you're figuring out what the campaign's going to be about, don't give a questionnaire or a interrogation. Just have rumors around town. You hear some farmers talking about something. You hear a guy that's a bandit has a fiery or icy or crazy electric sword, and he's won it by the local merchant guild or something, or the local caravan runners. So you can kind of basically put quests out there. He's going to pick the one that he wants to do. Tell him kind of what's it about in some kind of description, like a jobs won it board, hey, take care of this, Ivan the incredibly electrifying or whatever, or go slay this wyvern that's terrorizing the horse farmer or something. He's going to pick the one he wants to be a part of that story, and that's that's the way I would figure out the quest he's interested on, not ask him ahead of time.
Well, yeah, it's not about that. It's about style, figuring out the style that they want to play in is all. But, yeah. So with that, you guys, let us know in the comments below. Help us out. This is also one that came in through the forums, so that's awesome. So you can also go over there as well if you want to. But, comment, like, share, and subscribe.
You can come check out funny memes on Facebook.
Also check out the articles at nerdy.com.
So until next time, stay nerdy.